I am important.
Yeah.
Repeating that will
Mhm.
change your life.
Yeah.
I am important. I am worth fixing this. But another thing that really helps a lot, it flips that switch for them, is if Chris isn't taking care of Chris, she can't take care of all of her kids and her husband.
That's
And
big.
that right there will get a mama.
Hello, hello, friends. Welcome to the HoneyCast. That is what I'm calling my podcast because my name, Honeycut, and I'm Grandma Honey. And so let's do a HoneyCast. And I have a very special guest today, one of my dear friends and colleague, fellow coach, and I'll say more. She's got a lot of things going on, and I can't wait to hear from her today. So, Coach Amy, why don't you just briefly introduce yourself, and then we're going to get into the meat of things because I know you have amazing things for our listeners today.
Yes, always. She was like, I might bring things out of the blue. I'm like, okay, whatever, whatever. So, my name is Amy Gaskin. I live in Southwest Mississippi, as y'all can probably hear. If you don't know me, that's where I'm from. I have been doing Trim Healthy for a little over 7 years, and it radically changed my life in many ways. So I can't wait to talk about that. But I've been married for almost 23 years. Wes and I have 5 kids. Our oldest is almost 19 and in college. And our next one will be graduating from high school this year, a year early, might I brag. The next girl is a senior, excuse me, she's a freshman in high school. And then Camp and Knox are in third and fourth grade, and they were both adopted at birth. And so we have a very interesting family. The boys are all about baseball, like yours, and the girls dance, and it's just super fun over here.
You don't even look like you could have 5 kids. I'm just saying, I think you're aging in reverse. I really
I
do.
hear Have you seen the movie Benjamin Button? It's a really
Oh,
sad movie, but people call me that all the time.
I can tell you look so healthy, and so
Thank you.
I wanna get into that. So,
Yeah.
I know you've got a lot going on. We've got a lot of different rabbit trails, good rabbit trails that we're gonna go on, but I would love to start with really what brought you into the Trim Healthy community, and just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, quickly, it started with I was the most unhealthy I'd ever been in my whole life. We had gone through some serious traumatic things, basically around the adoptions. It was very, very hard for me. And I was just not taking care of myself. I was barely surviving, which landed me on the couch. I was worthless, honestly. Wes was doing everything, bless him. And then one day I was just like, enough is enough. And of course, I start going to CrossFit. I mean, that makes perfect sense. Couch to CrossFit. So anyway, I did. I started out using little bitty things, the PVC pipe. We have a new lady going, started this week, and I'm like, look, this is what I used for a long time. You're fine. It's fine. But anyway, so I did that. And then 6 months later, my best friend, Coach JJ, showed me the Trim Healthy Mama cookbook. And I'm like, okay, sure, fine. What do I have to lose? And so that's where it started. And it just changed my life. It really did.
Well, you can definitely tell that. And I want to ask you this because I think there's a lot of ladies that might have, or they may be at a level of where you were.
Mhm.
And when you said enough is enough, and I've experienced that too, you just get to a bottom. You're like, I
Yeah.
just can't do this anymore. What would you like if somebody is not there, like enough is enough, but they're getting close, or maybe we don't want them to get to that point? What do you coach your people on with this? How do you advise them?
Yeah. So a lot of times you'll see, like, if you're not doing right, and you see on social media or you're hearing things from friends and family, and you're like, well, good for you. But, I'm just not quite ready there. Just keep listening. You don't have to put into action yet, but just keep listening, keep watching, keep reading, and pray about it, because I believe that God will give you that motivation and that inspiration, and pray for somebody to come alongside you to hold you accountable, whether you pay a coach, watch a coach, get a friend, whatever. Just take an action step that works for you. It may not be what I did going to CrossFit. That's a little extreme. I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so tell us a little bit about I love that, and I think that's so important so that people don't get stuck where they are. There's always a little baby step that you can
Yep.
take, a
Yep.
bridge to get to the next level. So, I've been at the place where you have, where I've been like, "This is just enough. I have got to do something."
Mhm.
But you shared a little bit earlier about health struggle, I think you had said something about your going through surgical menopause was a
Man.
big part of you coming into Trim Healthy and taking care of yourself, and tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So when I was 29, I had crazy cyst on my ovaries. I'd had three C-sections every 2 years for 3 years, 3 to 6 years there. And it was just a lot on my body. And there's a lot that I have a lot of theories on this, but 29 years old, take my ovaries out. I suffered a pulmonary embolism right after surgery. And so I was not, which is a miracle I'm here, praise God. But
Mm.
I wasn't able to do the hormone replacement therapy, which was the primer in the pregnant mare urine they put people on. And I'm glad because now I know that that would who knows what happened to me with that medication, but it just really messed me up, and now I know that THM helped me because I wasn't on any hormones for a very long time, almost 10 years. And then I found THM and I started cleaning up my food drastically, paying attention to hydration, taking care of myself. I mean, there were days, those bad days, I wouldn't brush my teeth for a week. Or Wes was like, babe, have you had a bath? It was just that depression was set in. It was so bad. And people see me and they're like, wait, you? Yes. Like, I get you. I'm not what you think I am, but I've overcome it. And I think that is so huge for people when they see people, the end results or where you are. You've got to know that, like I say this all the time, you don't know the cost of my alabaster box. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know what it cost me to get here. I know what you're going through. But 3 years ago, during the COVID shutdown and all of that, my adrenals tanked. So for years, my adrenals were carrying me. And actually, it healed myself from Hashimoto's with THM. I'd taper off my medication. Levothyroxine is what I was on. Tapered off with the doctor's blessing, blah, blah, blah. Well, the COVID shutdown, 2020 craziness. And I couldn't do it anymore. I was on plan 100%. I was coaching. I was doing all the things. 10 pounds came on like this in a matter of weeks. And I'm like, what is going on? And so I'd already locked in with this functional medicine doctor, hour and a half away, because I knew I could feel something changing. And thank God I did, because those ladies and gents that are legit, they have the long waiting list.
Yeah.
And so it just worked that I was able to go. She started me on the hormone replacement therapy with pellets. And I do the progesterone little troche thing at night. And I've been on that for 3.5 years. And it's totally changed my life. I know it's very controversial in some circles, but it works for me. She also told me my Hashimoto's was back. And I was like, oh, well, can I do this supplement? And she's like, oh, sure, precious, you sure can. But within a few months, I knew that I needed the Armor Thyro,
Yeah.
which I took for a while. And now I've weaned off of that. And I am using a desiccated
Yeah.
supplement that's kind of like an over the counter thing. But my levels are great and I'm doing well.
That's so good. That's a question I get a lot is, can I manage my thyroid symptoms naturally? And I will say sometimes you can,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's like yours. It's kind of a off and on. For
Mhm.
me personally, I have never been able to get off. I'm on T4 and T3 synthetic. I've tried the armor, tried all the natural things that could not bring
Yep.
me to where I needed to be.
Everybody's different. Yeah.
Everybody's different with that, but I love to hear what I'm hearing is that you just continue to overcome. And I think that's why, I mean, I think you're an amazing coach, and I bet other people do too, but I think that's really one of the biggest things that is very inspiring in what you teach is really you're showing people, you're living it and how to overcome, but you're also teaching people how to do that. You're not shy about that. And
Oh,
I love that about you. You're like, let me help everyone. Yes, I'm going to coach you. I'm going to charge you for here, but I'm also not going to here because I care. Talk to me a little bit about your passion in helping women, who you help, and then we'll go on kind of to the coaching thing that coaching coaches next.
oh yeah. So I love to help women. Just in my past, I have done the women's ministry at church. I was the preschool director. I led Bible studies. I've taught women about how to adopt. I've taught women about breastfeeding. I've taught women about how to prep food. That was pre THM. And so it just carried over into this opportunity of coaching from Healthy. And yes, I want to help everybody. Y'all, other coaches as y'all laugh because Amy doesn't really have a
Yeah,
niche, whatever the word is.
never, yeah.
and it's okay. It's okay. You're gluten free. I can help you.
Yeah,
You're pregnant. I can help you. I mean, like yes, I do have things that I know more about,
right.
but the bare bone basics of Trim Healthy works for everybody.
Yeah.
There
Yeah,
are tweaks that need to be made, of course, and, if I don't know, I ask, I research, I find out, but the main thing is teaching women to take care of themselves and speak up for themselves, especially in the doctor's office and in their home.
yeah.
A lot of mamas are doormats, and
Mhm.
that is a woo, but they're the ones that made themselves that way, and so learning to put themselves first in some instances is one of the big keys that I see to unlocking health and wellness for these women.
Absolutely. And so I want to sit at your feet for a minute and ask you just to see. I think we all have our different coaching style, and I think that's beautiful. But this is one of the biggest things I see. It makes me so mad when I'm like, woman, lady, you are so worth this. Like,
Yeah.
invest in yourself. So how do you help people? How do you coach them when they're in that place of maybe they're not speaking up for their needs, whether at home or the doctor, or they're just not, they know they need to take care of themselves, but they're just not really, they're not buying in. They're not
Yep.
really believing it enough. How do you help women? How do you coach women in that scenario?
Depending on the vibe I'm getting, I will ask questions. How were you treated as a child? What's the relationship with you and your husband, you and your children? And those are quick little answers. I don't need a dissertation because I'm not a counselor. I'm not going to help them work through all their baggage. But
Right.
it is very helpful in knowing what direction to go with them. And I'm making notes. And so I have a little template that I have, and it's a worksheet for them to write out truth statements. And sometimes we tie scripture to that, but like, I am important.
Yeah.
Repeating that will
Mhm.
change your life.
Yeah.
I am important. I am worth fixing this. But another thing that really helps a lot, it flips that switch for them, is if Chris isn't taking care of Chris, she can't take care of all of her kids and her husband.
That's
And
big.
that right there will get a mama. And
Yes.
it's not a tactic, it's truth.
Yeah.
And it's truth that I had to learn and accept and still tell myself sometimes because I don't always have amazing polka dot sunshiny days, you know. So that's what I would do.
Yeah. I love that. And I totally agree with that. It really is encouraging to see other people that, I mean, not, I don't mean this in a bad way, to see that not everybody just gets there or arrives. Like there is a struggle. There is a process.
Yeah.
And being able to encourage women in that is, I think, so encouraging. I see you do that so well. You have several different coaching opportunities, right?
Mhm.
Different groups and things like that. I'd love to hear about those and kind of who those are for. And then I want to hear, I know this would be hard to answer, but what's one of your favorite things about coaching, or you can even say about that particular coaching opportunity? I love to hear, just kind of what drives you and what you're like, oh, I love this. I want to do this forever.
Yeah. The main thing that I love is that I can reinvent things. That is one of my favorite things. I can I can pivot when things aren't working, and I can reinvent and change things. So, throughout my coaching experience, what I started out with is not what I'm doing now. It has the same heart and passion behind it because it's still me, but I've learned what works better. And so that's what I love. But Buds is teaching the plan and holding them accountable for what they said they want to do. And so that's precious to me. And then one-on-one is that personal interaction, and I'm very thankful that that is still thriving because I do see kind of a downplay in one-on-one coaching, just not in THM, but just
Right.
across,
Yeah.
because everybody wants to do big groups, big group, big group. And I do have big groups, not going to
Yeah.
say, but I love the personal interaction that I get with those women. And then I will say that my favorite part of my coaching business is my blooms. That is my monthly accountability group. And people that do buds can come into blooms. People that do one-on-one can come into blooms. And so that's kind of my heartbeat, I
People.
guess. Those are
You're
my people. I have a conference that I do. Those are usually the people that come, and to see them embrace each other and encourage each other and meet new people and be vulnerable is amazing. I cried so much that weekend last July. And then I went and recorded a potty with Serena and Pearl. So I cried all the way home because it
Yeah,
was just
I
like
know.
unbelievable things are happening.
So
But I
powerful.
just love that. I love doing the little webinars I do, my little classes. I've written a Bible study. It's just endless the opportunities that I have to reach people with my story and what I've learned.
Yeah.
And that's just so exciting. But coming up, the newest thing is that I've been in my back pocket, I've been wanting to teach kids. I have 5 kids, so I know a little bit about teaching kids. I've homeschooled and all of that, but using the Trim Healthy You curriculum as a guide for these people's children is going to be one of the most incredible things that those mamas can do for their kids. Because if you can break the bondage that food addiction has at a young age, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
like it just heals them right on up.
Yeah.
And when you can teach a child that food is not comfort, it's fun and it's exciting to use, but it should not have that, connection on their hearts like that. It's fuel, and teach them how to do it. And I mean, the curriculum is amazing. Amanda, I know Serena Pearl did it, but Amanda Mott, I'm looking at it right now. She helped write that. Maybe somebody else, sorry, but it's amazing. And so I'm very excited for the opportunity to teach this kids course and help transform their future. Honestly, because when you can put food in its place, man, I mean that would help a whole lot of people in this world.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm so excited about that. Are you actually teaching the moms and the kids, or the moms to teach the
it's
kids, or what does
it's
that
the
look like?
kids. So I'm teaching the kids using the curriculum.
That is so great. All right, good
Yeah.
to know, because I've got some kiddos.
Yeah.
I do have that curriculum. I did start it. Here's my homeschool faux pas. I just don't follow through with stuff with my homeschooling. I really need to do that and take a look at that curriculum again and go through it. I literally sat down with them for like 3 times. One thing too about I don't know, this is probably true for you, but more is caught than taught. Although I do love teaching for sure, for sure. I will have to say I have taught my children, but I think more is caught because they all went through a phase of don't care what mom says. Gonna, when they're old enough, 17-year-old's gonna go down the
Yeah.
street to Dollar G
Right.
and bring home the ice cream because I'm
Right.
not gonna buy it. Now, occasionally we may have a little something, but I'm not gonna buy it, and I ended up just going, okay, this is what he's or she is going to do right now. I'm going to keep sowing seed here. I'm going to keep having healthy food here. I'm going to keep pointing them in the direction of health. And I'll have to say, so I've got 9 kids. I'll have to say that half of my kids have all come back around. They're sending me pictures of their healthy food.
I love it.
Right, they're asking me about products and stuff. Now, these younger guys, we're still, we're still in it. I'm hoping that they're going to do the same thing. But what would you say to mamas that have kids that are, kind of doing that, like going to get their own junk or
Mhm.
not really on board with what mom is teaching them?
Yeah, I totally agree with the taught and caught mentality. My oldest, she was 12 when I started Trim Healthy, and so it wasn't as common for her. So she has been the one. I don't worry about her because she still gets protein. She gets veggies. She doesn't balk at anything I make, but she's got way off plan stuff upstairs in her room. And my little boys know, and they get so mad about it. And I'm like, well, it doesn't benefit you, son. I'm just telling you. If you want to build guns, the muscles, you can't be
Yeah,
having all that. You have protein, and so
yeah,
we do joke about that, but I just want to encourage them. I mean, it's just like the nagging wife in the Bible. They're not going to listen to a dripping faucet. They're just not. And
yeah,
so that's where it's important for us to take care of ourselves as moms and do what we say, like you do it. So they see that you're not giving in to the off-plan things frequently. You are staying true to your goals with Trim Healthy, healthy eating and all of that. And I just think that's most important. But what I'll do, yes, I am teaching the curriculum, but I'm also giving them kitchen challenges. They'll have fun assignments, age appropriate little
okay,
quizzes. So for the mom that has that curriculum that kind of maybe like you said just kind of fizzled out, this is a way for them to finish it out. And I mean, if according to the laws in their state, the high schoolers could use it as a health credit. So
okay.
that's nice.
That's good to know. So it is for high schoolers.
Yeah, I'm doing
Okay.
all ages.
You're
Hmm.
doing all ages. Okay.
Hmm.
Well, good to know because I might send my youngest to Benjamin and
Right?
Joseph your way just because I like to outsource, right?
Yes.
It'll be fun. All right. So next, there's so many things I want to ask you about because I thought, okay, I think you just got a life coaching
Yeah.
certification. Is that right? So
Yes.
talk to us a little bit about that and how you're using that in your business and with your ladies.
Yeah, so the life coaching I got because I felt like I just needed that in my arsenal of knowledge to help women better, the women that I was already with better. And then God just laid on my heart a program that I ended up naming Crushing Your Goals. If you've noticed, all of my things are very Southern, you know,
Love it.
crushing, meeting,
Right.
chatting, all that. But so crushing your goals is where I have a health coach certification too. So I pulled stuff from the health coaching and the life coaching to empower those women to begin to say yes to themselves. And you can do this and empower them with those truth statements, with action plans, with making realistic goals. I also pulled in the Atomic Habits book by James Clear, which is incredible.
Love that book. Yeah.
And so we did that for January. I had 70 or so ladies do that as per normal, probably 30% did it.
Yeah.
But you know what? I planted those seeds in the
Yeah.
rest of them,
And
and
what,
that's okay.
tell me what that say that 30%, like what are you seeing? What changes are you seeing in their life?
Oh my goodness. Just, I mean, 180s. And it's just, finally, I get it. Finally, I am important. Not to say they don't have uh-oh days, but they can come back faster. Their rebound is faster. I ate that cookie yesterday on Valentine's Day, but my next meal was on plan. Or I didn't, slash all my tires when I made the mistake. That kind of. I also wrote another little daily affirmations. It was called Speak in Love, and it's really just reminding yourself every day that you are worth it. You are important and different things like that. Because we don't hear that in our society. We
No,
do
we
not. And I'm going to say it.
I am so with you on that. And one thing that I can really relate that to is really the renewal of our mind. We
Mhm.
are to be transformed by the renewal of our mind. If we're not renewing our mind with truth and we're feeding on these
Oh
old
man.
stories or listening to
Yeah.
voices that really don't line up with God and who he says we are, it is so powerful. And
Right.
I can only imagine that those 30 plus, percent people are making, even if they're 1% increase,
Yep.
that is
Every
still
day.
yes, so important. That
Awesome.
yields us, 37% increase by the end of the year.
That's right.
So okay, you've got that going on too. You've got so many awesome things that you're investing in and helping people. So now I want to jump to something that's dear to my heart because coaches,
Yeah.
coaching is my world, and I love supporting coaches, and you do too.
I
So
do.
I'd love to hear kind of where that passion comes from and what you're doing with current trim healthy coaches, and probably you can really help anybody. They don't have to be trim healthy. You really have a lot.
No, right now I'm keeping it to that, but I do think I could if given the opportunity. Because it's all about it's the same thing. It's encouraging them to step out and do the hard things and be consistent with it. That's all common with everything that I do. And so, yeah, probably about a year ago, I finally messaged you and I was like, "Hi, so can I help other coaches?" And you're like, "Hang on just a minute, we have something going on." But yes, but I'd been thinking about that for probably a year before. I
Yeah.
just wasn't sure. And finally, I got a wild hair and asked. And now I am able to coach coaches. You and I led a retreat. Was that 2021?
Mhm.
um in Texas, and empowered those coaches to do talks and things and stuff, and boy, I learned a lot doing that. But
Me too.
now I have a little curriculum thing that I do little 30-minute calls just to for a little checkup, or rapid fire, just to kind of promote them, just like a fast track. So I signed up to be a THM coach. Now what, and so depending on what their goal is, I can help them fast track and answer, these are good options for this stuff, because there's a lot behind coaching. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. You
Yeah.
got forms, you got choosing your name, you got, do I do a website? How do I do my Facebook? Blah, blah, blah. And so being able to help them fast track and keep them accountable to what they say they're going to do has been the most life-giving that I've seen coming from this. So I do offer that call, and then after that, they can choose to do a weekly call with me on a month by month basis if needed. And they
That's
can text me and we meet. And then I also have tons of resources, and they can just bounce out. I mean, we brainstorm.
so valuable.
Yeah.
So valuable.
It's so exciting.
So I'm kind of shifting a little bit. This is more of a personal question.
Okay.
I would, and I'm sure our listeners too would want to know what is your routine? Like, how do you take care of yourself? I know everybody's going to be different here because we all are in different seasons.
Yeah.
But what are the main things that you do to walk your walk your talk, and to really take care of yourself? They're your habits that you do, regularly. What do you do that really benefits you?
I would say the best habit that I have is learning time management. And that is something that I do teach a lot, because if I don't have margin and boundaries, this coaching thing, this trim healthy thing would overtake my life and I would be worthless at some point. And so I put my phone up. That is one of my biggest things that I'm so proud of is at the end of the day, I put my phone away. Now, if I decide I want to see, did Chris answer my message? I want to check that real quick. I'll put it right back. Like I have no problem with that.
Right.
Wes and I take time by ourselves. We take time with our family. I'm as organized as I can be, not maybe of an annoying organizer, but I do plan that. I have created habits where, for 7 years, I've gone to the 5:30 a.m. CrossFit class 2 or 3 times a week. Now I'm pretty consistent with Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That is what I do. That is what I do. And so that's great. And working in the whole meal prep thing, where you get the containers and you put the chicken and the rice and the broccoli. Like that is not what I do. Um, but I do on Tuesday morning. It works into my coaching that I prep my meals then while I'm live in the kitchen, and I try to do at least 3 suppers and maybe a breakfast. Multi-serve situation or something like that. And so that's wonderful because I do work late several nights a week. And so my people have food to eat. And so that means I'm providing for them in that way as well. I go to that doctor to get my hormone pellets. That's one of the best ways I can care for myself because if I don't, I'm a raging lunatic. And so that's great. And I like to travel and take time for that. It's just really important. And Saturdays, I reserve Friday and Saturday, I normally am not working in my yard. I'm doing chores, I'm with my people. And that just means the world to me that I can do that.
Yeah, that is so important to be able to really it's not being all, being everything to everybody, but you
Mhm,
are doing the most important things and you're making time. And like you said, time management and scheduling that is the only way it's going to happen.
mm,
It's difficult because anything can take over. So
mhm.
as far as I'm so impressed about the 5:30 workout. My body just doesn't move that early these
Well, I'll
days.
tell you, I mean, I started that about 6 months before I found out about Trim Healthy. That's when I went, but it was the only time I could go because I was homeschooling my kids, and I had a 2-year-old and a newborn. And Wes worked full time. He does it now, which is
Yeah,
amazing. But, it was when I could go. I
yeah.
couldn't go any other time, and I fell in love with that class and the people there, and they are my people. They are my gym
Mhm.
people, and I really honestly, with the way my life is right now, I don't think I could go any other time either.
Yeah. So, a big thing and theme I'm hearing really in the success of yourself and your clients is accountability.
Mhm.
It seems like you are providing a lot of accountability to people. Do you have accountability people in your life?
I would say yes and no. Of course, my clients and followers, I mean, just my promise to them holds me
Want and does it?
accountable.
Yes.
But I will say that even if I stopped Southern and Healthy coaching today, if I stopped that, I would still be accountable to myself. And I think that's taken a lot of time for me to cultivate, but it's important for me to feel good. And if
Yeah,
I go off plan, or if I stop CrossFit, or if I stop drinking my water, or if I stop paying attention to my time management, I'm going to be hurt. That is going to hurt my life, which is in turn going to hurt my people. And that keeps me accountable to that. So, no, I don't really have anybody, that I answer to per se.
yeah.
Um, but I'm definitely open. JJ and Wes would both be like, what are you doing? you know?
You do, but not formally. And it sounds
Yeah.
like you only need accountability when you need it. If you have a commitment to yourself and you're showing up for yourself, you don't really need it, in my opinion.
Yeah. Now,
But
in the past, have I? Absolutely. But in the last couple of years, no.
so I want to speak to our listeners. I want to kind of be in their shoes right now and ask you some questions. And based off of this last question, what would you say to the lady that she hears what you're saying and it just feels too hard? Like
Yeah.
it just feels too hard.
Yeah.
What would you say to her?
You just need to choose one thing. Choose one thing and make small things. Maybe she wants to do exercise. Maybe she pulls that out of everything I've said. I want to start exercising. So you just exercise one day. But when are you going to do it? What are you going to do? And what's it going to take for you to make that happen? It's
Yeah,
not, I want to lose weight. You can't just say that. You
right,
have to say, what am I going to do to make that happen? And it may be that it takes a whole year for you to get everything together that I've gotten together over 7 years. That's what I want people to hear. This is 7 years in the making that you're listening to right now.
right.
It's a lot. I mean, I started with exercise. I
Yeah,
didn't do it well. I wasn't doing crazy deadlifts like I can now. I couldn't do toes to bar that I can now. and then I brought in the healthy eating, which I messed up all the time. I was crossing over. I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew that it worked because I saw it and I believed it. And I just kept trying. I just kept trying. And I did get that kitchen fatigue that a lot of people get. So I just think, if you're going to go on the food thing, if you want to get back on plan, you're a beginner, start with one meal a day, whatever it is,
Yeah.
that's on plan. And once you're solid on that, add a second meal. And that might take you months, and that's okay because that's progress.
Yeah. So along those lines, one of the driving forces that I hear from you is that you have a belief system
Mm.
that this is working. And that really what I notice is that keeps people in. What you're believing is what you're going to manifest. It's what you're going to produce.
Yeah.
So what would you say to a woman who is kind of struggling with her belief about, does trim healthy work? Does it work for me? Can I do this? Just sort of some limiting beliefs. How do you what would you say to that person?
It does work, but you have to be consistent and you have to take captive the negative thoughts and like be very aware of those. Even people in your home that may make fun of you for not eating sugar or you're so weird, you're eating cucumbers, whatever, like, because people are rude. And that's where I think the community is so important. Whether you're in the main THM group, whether you follow a coach and you're like, I need support, I'm going to go check out what Chris said today. Just a reminder that you're not alone is huge because you are not. There are a multitude of women that are feeling just like you. And, reach out and find somebody, those truth statements, maybe even finding a scripture that supports that thought process, writing it on a sticky note and putting it on the dashboard of your car.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with positivity.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be anything. It can be the Christian music. It can be a pump up song, something that gets you going.
Okay. Here's another little thought. So, Coach Amy, it seems like it's easier for you. It seems like you kind of have a personality that's geared towards this. What would you say to somebody that is thinking that thought?
Yep. I'm sure they are.
Mhm. All these
It,
are just excuses, by the way. We tell
yep.
ourselves they're just excuses. So I'm
You're
just
right.
exposing excuses that I may or may have not had myself, but I have.
Oh, me too, man.
People hear this, so, like, it's just easy for you. You're just disciplined. So talk to us about that. What would you say to the lady that's just like, "I can't be like that. That's not who I am."
Yeah. Well, it can be because I wasn't always like this. And it just took practice. It just takes practice. You have to just practice it every day. And maybe if you need change, you have to change and don't fight it. A
Yeah,
lot of people, I think they come into THM and they're like, oh, cool. But then you tell them they can't put coffee make creamer in their coffee and call it on plan. Well,
right.
they're going to fight that because they love coffee make creamer in their coffee. So don't fight it, embrace it and see what happens.
Yeah,
You're only going to win. I mean, you can't lose with that.
yeah,
Is coffee that important to you? Is it more important than being healthy and feeling good and having a better life? No, it's
yeah,
not. So the whole, to see change, you do have to change. But I'm not asking you to change who you are. I've always been Amy.
right.
I'm a much better version. you know, Whenever I'm happy, it's better to be around. I'm nicer to be around and I feel better and that kind of thing. And that's what I want for people. I want them to know that the improvement is possible.
Yeah.
Improvement is possible. But it's just those little things. I didn't start out big steps. It's little steps.
Well, you just answered my last question. I was going to say, what would you tell people? Like, what's a final parting word? And I love everything you just said because really it is about practicing, it's about showing up, it is those priorities, and it is doing this little by little. And as someone that has, been watching you for years, I love seeing, your growth and your commitment to yourself. It really is contagious. And I hope that our listeners are also taking some of this really good energy and good wisdom. And like you said, maybe taking one thing, you're going
Mhm.
to do one thing from this. Maybe it's a
Yep.
walk, maybe it's an exercise, maybe it's a breakfast that's on plan. And you just do one thing and you continue to do that one thing.
Yep.
So I'm so glad that you were with us today. You're such a blessing, always, always to be around. And I hope you'll come back. We'll do another one together. How about that?
Sure. Sounds good. I love
Awesome.
talking to you, girl.
Awesome.